Hi Simon.
Hello.
No, I was wondering, you are from, I don't know how to pronounce it exactly,
Yeah.
you were born, I think, in Kilmarnock, or?
Place near Kilmarnock, Irvine. It was called Irvine.
And yeah, do you know, because well, you are compared to now, well, called the British Nirvana and stuff like that. What was Nirvana? Was it really your first interest in music, or was there a band prior to Nirvana that you were really fond of?
Guns N' Roses was my first love.
Yeah, Guns N' Roses.
Yeah,
first, and it will be your last.
Yeah, well, probably. Yeah. If they ever make another album, you know, like. But no, that was the first. I remember seeing one of their videos, you know, on MTV or something, and just being blown away by it, you know, and just thinking that was the greatest thing I'd ever seen. And then, you know, then a band like Nirvana comes along, and they're normal guys making music, you know, and it felt a lot more real than Guns N' Roses are still very close to my heart, but Nirvana were a lot more real. So they were the first band that when I saw them I thought, well, I could play music, you know, I could do this, you know. And
but how come Guns N' Roses were a bit more, well, far away from the situation you were in back then?
I think that's what attracted us to it, because it was so unlike our surroundings and the people, you know, and life in Britain.
Can you be a bit more precise?
Well, in the UK at that point there was, you know, bands like Oasis and things, and
I don't think so. I'm sorry, but I think Guns N' Roses is from the end of the 80s.
Yeah, well, I'm thinking more kind of 91, 92.
Okay,
like, because I was about 10 years old at that point, and so I didn't get Appetite for Destruction when it came out. You know, like that was, you know, it was it was years after that, and for some reason it was just, that was what connected with me. I liked loud guitars. For, you know, the same as any music lover, you don't know why you're drawn to music, but you'll see a band or you'll hear a song, and for some reason it will just touch you and become a part of your life. And then Guns N' Roses was the first band that happened to. I don't know why it happened, it just did, you know. And I mean, the UK, it was maybe slightly before Oasis, I guess, but to me, British bands weren't offering anything to me that I wanted to hear or say, you know, because a lot of British music tends to be actually English music, you know, and Scotland's always had a different vibe from England. It's always had different bands coming out, you know, like one of the best bands from Scotland ever are Mogwai, you know, and you couldn't say that there's, you know, that there's anything kind of British sound about them or anything, you know. They just made their music, and it just so happened that it was could be from anywhere in the world, you know. And I think Scotland, because the weather's so bad all the time, everyone just sits at home and listens to records all day, and they get guitars and they sit and they write songs, and it just seems that there's a really creative atmosphere in Scotland.
But what is then for you, if you have to compare the British, I mean the English sound back then and the Scottish, what is then for you? Can you be a bit more precise to? If you were saying Guns N' Roses appealed to your.
Well, at that point I was probably about 10 or 11 years old, so to me that was just instinct. That was just an instinctive thing that I liked Guns N' Roses. It wasn't that I was going looking for bands, you know. When we started to make music and go and see bands, you know, there was you know, after you know discover Nirvana. After that, you discover the underground music, you know, and you've got things like Fugazi, and you know, that's life.
Okay, Nirvana came along.
Yeah.
But first, Guns N' Roses, you were saying, well, it appealed to you, but can you be a bit more precise? What did appeal to you? Was it Axl Rose, his singing, or the way he looked, or the songs? Or?
Probably because they seem like aliens to me. You know, when you're 10 or 11 years old and you live in the west coast of Scotland, you know, you would never see people like that around anywhere. Never mind, you know, never mind making music in that area. You know, you would. It was just like another world from where I was living, and that was what I thought. Wow, you know, do these guys eat? Do they, you know, do they sleep? You know, you don't know anything about them, and then obviously musically, you know, I did like Axl Rose's voice, I have to admit, you know, and Slash's guitar playing, you can't argue with it, you know, but it was definitely the fact that it was such an alien looking people, you know.
What do you think of the solo of Slash on Estranged?
Oh, it's beautiful. Yeah, I like a lot of his solos though, but
especially that song.
yeah, and Estranged, he's really kind of makes that song.
Yeah.
Because otherwise it'd be this big overblown ballad with no kind of focus to it, and then he's such an emotive guitar player, you know. He would really express himself through guitars, you know. And I'm not a big fan of guitar solos generally, you know, but when somebody does a good guitar solo, it, you know, works well. But
and just for you then, do you think? Oh, have you heard the song Better? I think it's a new song from the forthcoming album, Chinese Democracy. Oh, okay, now just look it up on YouTube.
Okay.
Better, Guns N' Roses, and then it's a new song.
Is it good?
It's a bit more pop.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Pop, yeah.
I'm going to check that out after we do this, actually.
And then you enter Nirvana.
Yeah.
Do you know the first time you actually saw or heard the music? Saw Cobain?
I think it was in a program called The Word in the UK. And it was the famous one where he said Courtney Love is the best fuck in the world. Oh, yeah. You know, and I remember thinking, oh, that's, you know, like, who's Courtney Love at that point? And you know, I was like, that's a crazy thing to say. And then they just played, and they were more like real people. You know, to see real people just expound so much anger and energy in their music. You know, that was another stage for me, you know, to see a band actually, because Guns N' Roses was more theatrical almost, you know, they were singing about what they were going through, but it was a lot more kind of showmanship and everything.
Yeah, but also Mr. Brownstone about
heroin.
Yeah,
it's about heroin. Yeah, so like, you know, I wasn't in heroin at 10 years old, you know, and I haven't been since, you know, but you know, Nirvana just seemed to be singing and playing things that you could actually do and that we could understand. You know, I could never play a solo that Slash does, but I could bloody well play the songs of Nirvana, you know, and that's, you know, that was what kind of made me connect with them initially.
And is there for you one favorite part of Nirvana? Because well, for the new album you picked, I wrote it down, Andy Wallace, because he mixed.
Yeah, he mixed Nevermind.
Is that your favorite album?
No, it's not. It's
or is it the first one, the what's it called, the
Bleach? No, In Utero is my favorite. Yeah, that's to me, for a band to have been so successful and to go and make such an abrasive record. It's so dark and dirty record, and it doesn't sound huge. It doesn't sound clean. It doesn't sound precise. It just sounds like three guys making an unholy racket of noise, and for a band in their position who'd sold like 10 million copies of Nevermind to come out with something that's so aggressive, you know, that to me was such a brave move, and that inspired me very much musically in terms of if I ever got into a band or became in a band, then we wouldn't want to make the same record again. You know, you don't want to, just because you do something once and it feels pretty good, doesn't mean you should keep doing it. You know, it's like, to me that's a reason to go and try something else. And in our band certainly we would rather try something, you know, we would rather try and make a pop album and fuck it up, or try and make a metal album and really mess it up, but at least we try, you know. We don't want to sit in a groove, you know, and just go in our path, you know, and just saying, alright, well here's a new album, here's another Biffy album, you know, and there's slight variations. That's, to me, the jump from Bleach to Nevermind to In Utero, to me, is almost the greatest progression any band could ever make.
Maybe the Beatles?
Well, the Beatles, yeah, of course. I mean, when the Beatles did it, it was really, you know, at that point.
Every year a new album, every year.
And it's such a huge progression each time.
And 3-4 years, yeah.
And because when they started, they were doing covers of other people's songs. You know, that was the way things were done back then. You know, when the Beatles started, it was like there would be songwriters and there would be people that did
Performers
it.
like Elvis, like Frank Sinatra.
Yeah, exactly. And then when the Beatles came along, they realised, well, wait a minute, we can play guitar. We can write our own things. And the fact that in 7 years or however many albums they released,
62 until 69, I think they have. Well, I have to count them, but
yeah,
9 or 10 albums.
Yeah, and the progression through those records to me is phenomenal. You know, bands couldn't do that these days. Because record companies are saying, we need you to sell this amount of records. If a band like the Beatles were around now, they would not be allowed to do that. And they would be dropped. They'd be. Imagine dropping a band like the Beatles, but that would happen. Now. If they made a straight up pop album, or songs like Love Me Do and stuff, and then moving on to like Revolver or Rubber Soul or something, people would be like, you can't do that.
Yeah, but I think it's also a different time.
Yeah, well, it is.
Compare, because now, I think when they started to writing songs, pop songs, I think their chord progressions, I think they were really new. Yeah. Now it's been done over and over, so now it's really hard, I think, to actually do something new.
Yeah, it is. You're definitely right. Yeah, because there's only so many notes you can play, and there's only so many rhythms you can do. And when they were starting to write songs and guitars and everything, it was a reasonably new instrument, and certainly electric guitars were, at that point. And so you're right. I mean, it's a bad example in terms to reflect on.
It's really hard to compare, but I know what you mean. Well, first go back to the Nirvana and then to the new album, your new album. What do you think? Do you think he committed suicide or Courtney Love? Have you seen the documentary?
I have, yeah, and I took a wee bit of offence to the documentary. Actually, I think it's unfair. I think Kurt Cobain was a very fucked up character, and I think he genuinely couldn't handle the success of everyone in the world recognising him. He just wanted to make music, and I know that because I feel that way. I want to make music, but I wouldn't want that amount of exposure on because he became a cultural icon. I mean, Nirvana changed culture, never mind music. It wasn't just a great rock band.
And also fashion.
Yeah, it fed into everything, and so I mean, I don't think that he was murdered. I think Courtney Love's a bit of a nasty, dark bitch, but I think he was just fucked up on drugs. And his head was all messed up. So I think it was inevitable that that was going to happen.
Okay. Well, then now switch forward to 2007.
Okay.
Your new album. Because you were saying, well, Nevermind, Andy Wallace, who mixed Nevermind, he also did the mix of your new album.
Yep.
Why? How come? Did you especially pick him because of his work with Nirvana? Is it completely...
It's because of other things. He produced Jeff Buckley's album, Grace. He did At the Drive-In, Relationship of Command. He did Slayer, Rain and Blood. He did Shudder to Think, who are one of our favourite bands, and Nirvana and Rage Against the Machine. There was a multitude of reasons. Andy Wallace to us captures the essence of a band. He mixes the way a band sounds. He gets it onto tape. That's how he does it. He doesn't tart it up. It's not the Andy Wallace sound. You get some mixers who will just put their stamp. You listen to 10 seconds
Phil
of it.
Spector, for example.
Yeah, and it's a Phil Spector song. More recently, you've got producers like Howard Benson and things who did My Chemical Romance, and on 3 Cheers for Sweet Revenge, and then in the 2 years since that, there's been like about a dozen bands come out with exactly the same sound, and until the singing comes in, you've no idea who it is because it could be one of 100 bands, and I think Andy Wallace is talented enough at his job and so tuned in that if he can make Jeff Buckley sound amazing, he can make Slayer sound amazing, and he can make Nirvana sound amazing, then that's quite a scope of rock music.
But I think that the criticism of Kurt Cobain, that's because that's why they made in Utero more sounding dark. It's because they thought it was a pretty slick production.
Yeah, but then having read about it. At the time, that was what Kurt Cobain wanted. I mean, he wanted his band, you know, you don't make a record like Nevermind accidentally.
That's true.
You know, compared to Bleach, you know, like they knew what they were doing when they were making that record, you know, and unfortunately it's a dichotomy for, you know, for Kurt Cobain, that he wanted to make a pop record that was a huge record, but unfortunately the personal life got changed, his personal life got changed, and people were interested more in him as a character and as an icon than the band's music, you know, and I think that was, his reaction was more to that, and I think he verbally said it was because it was too polished, you know, but I think it was really, if Nevermind hadn't been such a huge album, I don't think he would have slated the sound of it.
That's right.
You know.
What is the last phrase you wrote down in your notebook?
The last phrase I wrote down? It's probably I've got a skeleton in my eye. That was the last thing. I just wrote it down a couple of days ago.
How come?
It just popped into my mind, and I thought that's quite interesting. I can't remember. I saw a skeleton in a window or something in a window, and I just thought I got a skeleton in my eye, so I wrote it down. That's normally what I would do. You know, there'd be the odd something strange will come into my mind. I'll write it down, and then sometimes a song will come from that.
What is in the first line you wrote down from living is a problem because everybody dies?
The chorus was the first thing that I wrote on that. That was the, you know, don't want to waste no more time. Time's what we don't have. You know.
That's what I've written down too.
You know, that just came out. I didn't even have to write that down. It was just when I was playing the guitar that just kind of came out of my mouth. And more often than not, when that happens, that's when you know you've got something really pure. You know, because if your mind just verbally, you know, it just kind of flows out your mouth and you're doing it, then it's. That's a lucky situation to be in, because there'll be some lines you'll be working on, or you'll maybe work on a verse, you know, and it will take maybe a month to have it absolutely perfect, you know, but some things will just come right away, and you're like, wow, that's exactly what I wanted to say, you know.
It's a song inspired because I read that your mom has passed away.
Yeah.
It's a song maybe about dealing with.
Oh, completely. I mean, the whole album is, you know,
But this one maybe especially because living is problem because everybody dies. And well, when I read it that your mom passed away, and that's mine I wrote down, don't want to waste no more time.
Yeah.
Maybe some regrets of not seeing her often enough. I don't know.
Well, absolutely. I mean, we were in tour when it happened, and you know, we had to fly home. You know, I had to fly home in time, you know, just to see my mum before she passed away. You know, so it was a very tough.
What did she have?
Time. She basically had she'd had heart surgery that basically 2 months later went wrong, and it was really out of the blue, and it was a real surprise, and none of, you know, we didn't know. We thought she was getting better, you know. So that was a really hard, incredibly hard time, as it is for anyone who loses someone in their family or close to them, and so. I mean, every lyric basically on this record is you know, about that to a certain extent, whether it's me sitting at home alone asking questions about myself, or asking questions about my relationships with people, or about mortality, or about regrets that, you know, why did I have to be on tour, you know, why couldn't I have been at home, you know, why can...
What did she tell you then? I mean, did you get a chance to talk about this with her? I mean, with you being on tour and stuff like that, or did she just say, well?
No, there wasn't time. When I got home, she'd already.
Oh, she already had that.
Yeah, which was horrific, you know, and that's something I still fight with every day, you know. And we were in the middle of touring as well, and at that point, I didn't want to make music. I was like, why should I go out and play shows when I can't physically do it? I can't. This is why I'm, you know, the reason why I'm so upset, because I was away playing shows, when if I'd been at home doing a normal job, you know, I could have been there and I could have, you know, helped. But because we were travelling, you know, it was so out of the blue. You know, I couldn't even get back in time to say bye or anything, you know, and that was really horrible. So there's on the record there's a lot of questioning as well about whether it's music, you know, what is music? I mean, music up until that point was so important to me in my life, you know, and the most important thing, and it's still incredibly important. But at that point, I was like, well, music caused me to be away from home. If I hadn't been in a band, then I would have been able to be at home and be with my mum, you know, and that, unfortunately that didn't happen. So there's a lot of regrets, you know. I've got a lot of kind of regrets.
What do you think she would have said to you then, if you had the time, had the chance to tell her this? What do you think? Was she proud of your music? Did she like your music?
Yeah, I mean, she was proud of the fact that we're working hard and doing well. You know, the music we make is quite full-on music. You know, so as all parents would say, you know, they're proud of their sons or their daughters.
But play some normal pop
stuff,
like
you know, they would, you know, they wouldn't go out and buy an album like our album and listen to it all day, you know. So, but you know, all our parents, me, Ben, and James, have all been incredibly supportive of us because they know that this is what we've wanted to do with our lives, and but I know she'd be proud. You know, like this album basically is for my mum. You know, like, there's so many songs written for her and about her and about the last couple of years about my dad and things, and I think she'd be very proud of this record. As for what I would say to her, I don't even know what I would say if. You know, it's just one of those, you know, it's maybe a bit too personal to kind of talk about that. You know, but.
Is it for you then? Is there one song that's, well, you were saying all the songs are merely about you dealing with this. Is there one song that's for you then more special than others? I mean, is there one song that...
to me, Folding Stars, that was the one song that it's probably the prettiest song we've ever written as a band, or like, you know, I've ever written, and that's the one song that I knew when I was writing that it was going to be for my mum. That was going to be one song that I knew that my mum would like to listen to. She would enjoy listening to it. You know, it's not aggressive. It's not got any screaming. You know, and it's just it's a pretty pop song, and that was the one on the record that I needed to be, you know, absolutely perfect, and it needed to turn out just amazing. And I'm really proud with the way it came out, and I know that she would love that song if you heard it, because it's, you know, because it's a nice pretty song, you know. And I know that we'll probably get some slack off some of our fans. Will probably be like, oh, you know, yeah, that song's, you know, not like you. That's almost a ballad, you know. And I'll be like, well, fuck off. I don't care. You know, it's nothing to do with you. You know, we make music for ourselves and for whatever reason we want to make music, we do it. And which is why with this record, if people don't like it, I really don't care. You know, I really don't care if people don't like this record, because I know what this record means to me. I know what it means to Ben and James. I know what it would have meant to my mum. I know what it, you know, will mean to my dad and my brother, and that's the most important thing.
Is it for you? Did you feel? Because normally, well, this is your fourth album. I can imagine that now. Did you feel more pressure now, or less pressure? Because of the lyrical content and because of what happened, did it bring more pressure, or was it just easier for you now to write this album?
That's a good question. Actually, I think it actually made it easier to write, because there was so much. I was thinking so much, and there were so many emotions coming out of me. The pressure arose when we were recording it, and that was when I was like, when I felt a lot of pressure to make it sound perfect. You know, I was happy with the songs and everything. You know, and as I say, everything just flowed out fairly naturally. You know, and if I was feeling sad, it would be a sad song I was writing. If I was feeling angry, it would be angry. You know, and but it was the recording that was really, I found very hard, because I was then singing these words and trying to make, you know, it's therefore not, it's less about the sentiment when you're recording them, because we spent 2 months recording the album,
Longest time ever for you.
Yeah, definitely. And so you end up going in so close to making sure that everything sounds perfect that you're almost so close in that you can't see the big picture. And a couple of points I found that very hard, you know, to just remember what the songs were about, and that I was happy with these songs anyway, you know, that whatever we recorded these songs, we were going to be 100% proud of them, you know. I'm glad we pushed ourselves to make it sound like a big rock record, you know. I mean, that's what it is. It's, you know, we worked with Garth Richardson and Andy Wallace, as you say, so it was always going to be a big rock record, but I was just confident that the songs we had were amazing, and that every single word on this record is as sincere and honest as I could possibly be. You know?
It's for you because, well, the sound, I think this album is, well, like it also has a bigger sound. I think, well, you use strings and was it done on purpose?
Yep, I mean, every time we go in to do an album musically, we have it set out before we go in. You know, I knew we wanted strings and living as a problem, and 9/15ths and a cello and machines, and the same on previous records. We knew we wanted trumpet on a couple of songs, so you know, we work out almost to the exact, you know, beat and rhythm and melody. Everything's worked out exactly before we go in to record it, which is why recording was so tough, because it's 2 months of prolonging that and trying to accomplish what you've set in your mind, you know, because that's hard to do, you know, because in your mind you can have the perfect vision of what it should be, but if you go in and record it and you fuck it up, then you're gonna, you know, regrets about that, you know. And
what I'm always wondering about, because people, well, it takes so much, I mean, bands, artists take so long time, so much time to record an album. How do you make sure the actual versions that, well, are put down on the album, that they stay fresh? Because I can imagine the first time, second time you play a song, it's really fresh, but then...
Well, that's really hard. That's something that we had to learn on this record.
How did you do it?
At the time, we didn't know if we were doing it. You don't know. I mean, on our first 3 albums, we spent 2 weeks on each record, so everything's very fresh. You go in, you play it, you're like, brilliant. You know, right, we're going to do it. Right, we'll sing over it now. You know, right, that's it. Oh wow, that's brilliant. Let's move on to the next thing. With this, we went in with that exact mindset, and we, you know, in the first week, we wanted to get all, you know, like at least 10 songs done in the first week. And Garth Richardson was like, no, listen, we've got 2 months. Let's piece it together. So it took me, I had a real hard time. I'd almost had a bit of a kind of breakdown with Garth, you know, like with myself, and a falling out with Garth, because I needed to slow it down and remember that the songs were already written, and that his job was to make those songs sound great, and I needed to have patience and trust in him. We were paying him a lot of money to make our music, regardless of what kind of music we're making, to make it sound big. So at that point, it took me 2 weeks to basically be like, right, okay, so the songs are written, you know, now we're trusting Garth to tell us, you know, all right, listen, those drums sound amazing. You know, we would try different drum sets and try different guitars, you know, and initially it was like, oh, come on, let's just do this. This is the guitar I play, you know, this is what it should be. And but he had the foresight, you know, for the sonic, you know, sonically, you know, the point of the record, and so it was very, very hard. And when you're spending that amount of time on it, you don't know if you've got that, if it's got that energy, because, as I say, you're looking at it so closely that you worry that when you come up and listen to the track, you might go, well, that's not what we sound like. You know, that sounds like we've spent 3 weeks.
Sounds like Nirvana.
Yeah.
Never mind.
Yeah, exactly. You know, or it sounds like we've worked everything out. You know, it's got no soul. You know, we didn't want to lose the soul of our band, and that was certainly a worry when we went in. But
and when did you find out, hey, we didn't lose the soul?
Basically, when we went to New York to start mixing with Andy Wallace, as soon as we heard some rough mixes after Canada, and we were like, "Wow, this actually sounds pretty good," you know. But it was very rough. As soon as Andy Wallace mixed the first song, we were like, that was a real release for us, you know, and a relief, you know, that we actually have. Certainly for that first song, we were like, this sounds exactly as we wanted it to be. This sounds like us playing in a room. We've spent 2 months trying to make it sound like us just playing it in a room, which is ridiculous. But that was the moment. That was the moment where I started to relax a bit and think that I'd done that we'd all done ourselves proud, and I'd done my mum proud, and I'd done, you know, my dad proud and everything. That was when I thought, this is, we've done what we've set out to do. You know, this is, we are doing this, you know, and it's not been a waste of time, it's not been a waste of money, and because in 2 months we could have recorded 3 albums in 2 months, you know, and we would have quite happily done that. But in retrospect now, with the record we have, you know, I know that this record, I'm going to be listening to it for the rest of my life. You know, I hope other people are, and it's just always going to be just probably the most important piece of music that I'll certainly ever be involved in, just because of when it happened and what it's about, you know.
I have 3 more questions. I only have a few minutes. So, first one, what is your dad's favorite song on the album?
I actually haven't let my dad hear the whole record yet.
Okay.
I'm waiting until we get all the artwork and everything, because my dad is, as I say, he's not a huge music fan. He just, you know, he likes what his son does. But I want him to hear these songs when he can read the lyrics in the booklet, and he can see the artwork and get the overall picture of it. Because I know it's going to be very sad for him and upsetting, but I hope in a good way. I think he'll listen to it and be very proud. And
what do you think? What song it will be?
Probably Machines. I know that he'll like the quiet songs, you know. So a song like that, I think he'll.
So not the song you said, because I've got.
Well, Folding Stars. I think that'll probably be the toughest for him to hear.
Okay.
You know, but I think he will like that. But I think that'll take him a few times to listen to it. I think the first time he hears that, he'll be very, very upset. The same way I was the first time I heard it. You know, even though I wrote it, the first time I heard it, I burst out crying. You know, and it was, you know, tears of sadness and joy. You know, that it turned out great, but also that it was, you know, it's a sad song. But so I'm sure he will like that.
Okay, Machine. So, okay, then my second question: what is your favorite tattoo?
Tattoo. Well, I've got one of my mum's name down there. That's my mum's signature. Eleanor.
Eleanor, yeah.
And I've got my grandpa's initial, because my grandpa passed away as well, and then so they're my 2 favourites. But my mum's one, that's my favourite tattoo.
Okay. Then my last one, really last question. I heard some really strange stories about your band name, Biffy Clyro, but now I heard it's an acronym of what words? It's an acronym.
It's Big Imagination for Feeling Young, 'cause life yearns real optimism.
Is it true? It's really, this is why?
You decide.
Because I think it's it's really true, because I also heard some sort of pun on Cliff Richard.
Yeah, well, it could be.
Oh, sorry.
It could be a Welsh warrior from the 17th century.
So you are not going to tell me?
No.
Okay.
One of them's right. One of those 3's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but it's primarily we chose the name because we didn't want anybody to know what we would sound like as a band. But
okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much, man.
Thank you.
Thank you. Pleasure to talk to you.
Okay.